Hi everybody, this is Toffee bringing you Chapter 1, Part 2 of my Fire Emblem 4 LTC. This time we'll play the actual chapter. I forgot to show the kills on the Steel Sword and Javelin here. FE4 is known for its many talks and events, and here Quan talks to Finn to give him a point each of strength, skill, and defense. Our cavalry will charge en masse towards the first castle, Genoa. Arden will be the designated RN burner for most of the chapter, and as such will stay at home. Azel heads off west to grab some EXP in a little bit. Lex is at 1 HP since he was the designated RN burner during the arena segment, and this lets Ethelyn grab a couple of heals even before we start engaging the enemy. Since I was trying to maximize EXP this run, I tried to ensure Ethelyn would have something to do every turn. Genoa will send an army of barbarians, hunters, and axe fighters at us. Turn 2 sees Dew and Edane join us from Marpha. Dew is a thief and as such is an expert in matters of money. His personal steal skill lets him steal all of an enemy's gold when he hits them, and he can give money to other units. This makes him very important to let several units reach important money benchmarks in Generation 1. His base stats are pretty bad, meaning his arena will be painful until we rig many level ups for him, but he comes with Bargain, which lets him buy items at half price, which is equal to the sell price. As such, he can buy stat boosting rings to help him out in the arena without losing any gold in the as a net loss in the process, and can also store gold in purchased items to fine tune the amount of money he gives. He also has Soul, a skill that gives him a skill percent chance to restore HP equal to the damage he deals. It's not particularly useful in this run, but it does help. Edane is a 5-move staff-locked unit right now, but she too is of great importance. She has a B rank in staves to Ethelyn's C, which will help set her apart. For now, Dew and Edane retreat away from the Marpha army chasing them. With the speed ring, Finn can double the hunters, which lets him go ham with the javelin. We transferred Quan's javelin over to him to let him concentrate kills on it for now. I don't think I explained exactly how Miracle works. When Finn drops below 11 HP, he gets a boost in Avoid equals 10 times the difference between his HP and 11. With the right stats, this can let him effectively become immortal, especially against enemies who don't have particularly high accuracy, and in conjunction with follow-up is what makes him the best unit at putting kills on the javelin during the early game. The strength level he gained was needed to let him kill the axe fighter, since he had missed some level ups earlier. Finn is the first unit who has anti-benchmarks. We don't want him to exceed 14 defense until a certain point in Chapter 2, and we don't want him to exceed 19 defense as a promoted unit before the end of Generation 1. This is because this game has 0 damage and 0 hit AI. If an enemy sees that their attack power is equal to a target's defense at the start of an enemy phase, they will simply not attack them despite the fact that they could actually do the minimum 1 damage. This does mean that a defense level up during enemy phase will not prevent enemies from attacking your unit, though the same does not go for hit. At the time of attacking, if an enemy sees 0 hit on a player unit before factoring in player support's miracle and leadership, they will simply not attack. This is not much of a concern with the heavy javelin, but it does effectively nerf certain super weapons. The boss of the army charging at us drops the hand axe, the only 1 to 2 range axe in the game. As such, we give Lex the kill. The hand axe is even heavier than the javelin and is locked to units who don't have follow-up, and as such it simply enables Lex to chip at 2 range or for a different amount of damage. Enemies really do love targeting Midir at 2 range, even when they could target units who could actually not counter. The warrior sitting on Genoa Castle is a little too bulky for Sigurd to one-run, so we have Midir weaken him. The Myrmidon, who is in the Genoa army, is the recruitable Ira. She has follow-up with pretty good speed and the proc skill Astra, which will let her attack 5 times, which is basically going to kill anyone at this point except Alec, who has Nihil, which prevents it from activating. To recruit her, we need to first seize Genoa and then have Sigurd talk to her. However, to avoid losing turns to this, we need to bait Ira very far over to the left, and Alec can't reach the correct square on turn 4. The only units who can are Quan and Dew will be our bait of choice since he's fast enough to not get doubled by her, reducing the risk to a minimum. Our other units simply form up to keep Ira away from Sigurd, who she would beeline towards if she could reach him. There you saw a double onslaught proc from Nisha, which was unexpected, but I'll take it. After we seize Genoa, an Augustrian army from Hirheim shows up to charge at our home castle, but they're not too much of a concern for a reason you'll see shortly. We also unlock some conversations. Dew can talk to Edane to give her the very important warp staff. It is a B rank staff, which means it is locked to Edane for now, and it lets you send a target to any blue castle. It's obviously not as broken as Warp in the Arcanea games, but it will still be a very important part of many strategies. It also grants 60 EXP per use, making it an efficient way to train up staff users who have a B rank in staves, or above. Elaine herself can talk to Evelyn to give her the return staff. This is a C rank staff that can send a target back to the home castle. With a warp user sitting at home castle, return can simulate warp while being on a mounted unit, and it also gives 35 EXP per use, making it a faster way to grind EXP than even Edane's meant. Elaine and Ira are the two freely pairable mothers who first join us, so I should address that. I'll talk about pairings when the second of the parents join for better context, and as such, we'll skip talking about Elaine for now since her husband is yet to join. Ira's kids are basically copies of her footlocked and swordlocked units, and as such, their biggest concern in a ranked run is accelerating their EXP gain. This makes Lex a logical husband for her, as his lack of follow up does not matter since they already always have it. And he has a conversation with her in chapter 3 that will accelerate their pairing. This does make Lex much less useful as a unit since he'll be stuck next to Ira starting next chapter, but Paragon means he doesn't need as much map compact to begin with. As you'll see, in general, units who are working on pairings will be less actively useful than units who aren't. A couple of units in our army, Midir and Azel, do fancy Edain and could talk to her to get love points with her, but both are inferior from an LTC perspective to the guide we have in mind for her. Finn used the Iron Lance for that enemy phase, which may seem a bit wasteful, but keep in mind that Finn only has 50 uses of the Javelin before he needs to repair it, and it would not cover all the enemy skill phase in this chapter before then. The Javelin's bad hit rate combined with the forest terrain and the weapon triangle disadvantage Axis imposed would make his enemy phase far worse as well. It's all good, we eventually get the Javelin to 100 kills during Generation 1. Finn's great enemy phase performance is also partially a credit to Eplin, who can refuel his HP to let him pull off multiple miracle enemy phases. So the Hierophant army was basically meant to scare the player into guarding their home castle in the future, though the game just gives us a solution this time. Eldigan and his Cross Knights march out of Nodion, and they have far superior stats to the level 1 generics Elliot brought with them. Elliot charges out far ahead after attacking, and this lets Azel pick him off for an extra level up, which will make his 4th arena fight much easier. Something I've been doing during the map is having Alec grab kills with the steel sword where he can. Finn sets up for one more miracle enemy phase against the gods of Marpha to round out his chapter. His javelin will be brought down to very low uses and he won't have the movement for the final castle. Brigands who target villages always carry 5,000 gold with them, so they make great targets for Dew. Setting this guy up to be killed by Dew is tricky given Midir leveled up strength earlier, but Lex's Broken Axe comes in handy as a workaround. The Broken Axe is the weakest possible weapon Lex can use, and given his role as a chipper, it's still useful despite its abysmal parameters. Some of our units could have helped ship down the boss of Marpha Castle, but we just opt for an Ethlin-enabled Crip. This gives Sigurd the skill ring. In principle, having somebody else grab it could have acted as a free 10,000 gold for them by selling it, but we don't really have good candidates here, though in the next chapter we will put some more effort into feeding item drops to non-Sigurd units. The last segment of this chapter is the infamous Spirit Forest. Because of how the math works out, Sigurd and Quan can move through 3 forest tiles a turn, whereas our unpromoted cavalry can only handle 2. This makes it basically impossible for them to keep up across the long forest, and instead they'll make convenient staff fodder for Ethlin and Edain to grind EXP. Alec is the exception, as he will head off to the untouched village to get 5,000 gold. 6 move infantry units can also move through 3 forest tiles a turn, and Ira in particular will be helping out there. We have Finn sell off the speedring and javelin since we won't need them for the rest of the chapter. Sigurd will buy the javelin, and the reason we rig so many speed level ups on him is so he can double the enemies near Verdane Castle with the javelin. We wouldn't want to buy the speed ring on him since Dew really wants access to it for the arena, and we sell the skill ring immediately for Dew to use as well. Ira is warped ahead to finish her arena. Since she is not doing her arena at the home castle, she has to finish her entire arena segment in one go, but Astra is a big help in that regard. Ira is currently broke since Dew stole her starting 3,000 gold, but the way her gold works out, she will still manage to hit her important thresholds naturally. Ira's weapon is the Iron Blade. Blades are A-rank swords that have 20 less hit, but have the same might as the corresponding grade of Lance. The Iron Blade is also a relatively inexpensive weapon, so Ira will stick to using it in the arena for the rest of the generation. It does make her pull some bad hit rates, despite her decent skill though, especially early on. We ideally want Ira to grow some HP and defense for a job she will do in the Spirit Forest with her third skill, Nihil. I guess I can talk about the difference between class skills and personal skills. Class skills are innate to the class, but importantly are not passed on via inheritance to children, while personal skills are. In Ira's case, this doesn't matter since her kids will also be myrmidons, but it will be relevant to some other children. Ira will actually help a couple of other units get married, but I'll talk more about that when it becomes relevant. If we push Lex through the Spirit Forest and into the small peninsula that goes towards the right with the Iron Axe in his inventory, we could unlock a secret event that gives him a Brave Axe. The Brave Axe is a big help to Lex in the arena, with a weight of just 12 to the standard 18 of axes, and doubling his damage output, which can even let him kill some regular enemies on maps if needed. Unfortunately, we cannot get it in an LTC, which nerfs him heavily, though as you'll see, we do manage to level cap him by the end of the generation. Ethlin needs to sorry, not Evelyn. Edain needs to walk to the left to recruit a certain unit, so we just try to fill up her actions with staff uses. We let the brigand burn down the entire village on the right, but that is to feed him to Dew, who will retrieve 5,000 gold from him at that point. We couldn't actually kill him before he started burning the village, since only Sigurd and Quan could reach him turn 2, and they'd have to leave the road, so this was technically more lucrative. We meet the army from the Spirit Forest right around the choke point, which makes this much more dicey for Quan and Sigurd. Lurking amongst the foes is Yamka, a vicious recruitable sniper. Yamka has follow-up from his class, adept in onslaught as personal skills, and is packing a killer bow, which gives him the critical skill. The killer bow is also only 3 weight as compared to the standard 8 of bows, making him even relatively faster. This makes him a very dangerous enemy who can just one-round most of our units if the RNG isn't in our favor. To get through, we need to rig Quan and Sigurd to stay at high HP. Quan needs Adept to actually one-round the enemies here, but we cannot afford to have him or Sigurd lose squares. This turn, we just need Quan to survive a round of combat with Yamka on enemy phase. Fortunately, the way the positioning works out, there is a crack that Sigurd and Quan can use to slip past Yamka on later turns. Moving past the choke point, Sigurd recruits Deirdre. Deirdre is a shaman with very lopsided stats, and she also falls in love with Sigurd after a turn. She has very limited availability, being the first unit to leave our army, partway through chapter 3, but with her B rank and stage, still do one thing for the LTC. She comes with a very heavy aura tome that has 20 might, but she's bailed by her circlet, a personal item that gives her Miracle and Renewal. Miracle is what will help her through several arena fights during her time with our army, and we micromanage her level ups to get her to the correct Miracle values. So yes, Deirdre is another unit with anti-benchmarks. She also has Nihil, which immediately comes in handy here as it negates Yamka's ability to crit her. Fortunately, Deirdre does not quite one-shot Yamka, and also does not get one-shot in return, so she can attack him to diffuse Yamka's onslaught by bringing him below 25 HP, and activate Miracle to help her dodge on the next turn. This is the most that we can do to mitigate risk. After this, it'll be down to rigging. Deirdre also comes with the Silent Staff, but that's really just 15,000 free gold on her once she sells it, since status staves aren't particularly useful in Generation 1. We get Azel through more arenas, and we're very particular about rigging his stats. Fight 7 will be another rough one for him, since despite all this, he will be outsped by the general and two-shot by him. Yamka does have a chance to attack Quan or Sigurd, especially if they're at low HP, but Deirdre at low HP is certainly a juicy target. After this, Quan can run to safety from Yamke, since he leaves the forest. Ira takes over the job of baiting Yamke down, once again relying on Nihil to negate the killer bow. With some HP and defense, she can avoid being two-shot by Yamke in case he procs Adept. This chapter really is the biggest advertisement for Nihil. After this, it won't really matter much during Generation 1. We send Nisha back to help Dew kill the Brigand. You can see that Deirdre had less than around now 1,000 multiple of gold, and that's because castle healing trumps renewal. When you're inside the home castle or guarding another castle, you heal about 20% of your HP each turn at a cost of 5 gold per HP. While if you start a turn on a church like Azel did in the prologue, you recover all of your HP for the same price rate. Deirdre's renewal would heal 5 to 10 HP at random at the start of a turn, but it would only activate within the home castle if she had no money at all to pay for the castle healing. Up top, the reason why we wanted Quan to be about a turn's movement ahead of Sigurd was so he could bait out the guards of Verdane Castle. We couldn't get enough units up there to clear out Sigurd's way, so this is the only way to ensure Sigurd can stay on pace for the fastest clear. Sigurd missed some strength earlier, and as such he'll fail to one round one of the axe fighters, but it's all good. Edain recruits Yamka, and he'll be a shoo-in for the job of Arden Burner in the future, since unlike Arden and Lex, he doesn't have Vantage. With a broken bow, he can burn one Arden at a time 100% reliably against certain fights, though being a ranked one, we will still want to get him through the arenas. Being footlocked, bow-locked unit also means that it is unlikely for him to make more significant contributions than that by participating in the actual maps. We do get him to quite a high level by the end of the generation, though, just off of arena grinding. The killer bow he comes with will help him punch through this and the next arena before we sell it to Midir. Midir will wear his iron bow down to 2 uses and sell it to Yamka to let him use it for this purpose. Broken weapons cost 1000 gold to buy and aren't worth anything to sell, so it's cheaper to transfer weapons when they are low on uses. I had Etlin heal Finn, and this was probably a mistake overall. I should have had Etlin sell heal to Deirdre and just returned Finn on this turn. But by the time I realized my mistake, I had already gotten further in and didn't care to re-record. We had to rig Sigurd to fight Verdane Castle's guards there, and also an enemy phase level up for Dew. The skill ring could have helped Sigurd's hit rates, but Dew wants it for the arena. This is the final turn of the map, but as you can see, you're only about halfway through the video, and that's because we need to finish Arden's, Dew's, Midir's, and Yamka's arenas. If we had sold the heal to Deirdre, it may have been more reasonable to get Lex to beat Fight 7 as well. There were seeds where he could win even from 1 HP, but they were far away and didn't give good level ups. Lex ends up overflowing with money by the end of the generation, but the extra EXP may have let me divert some later EXP to a different unit to hopefully gain an extra level up. Arden pulls out the Chalfie Juggle one last time to get past Fight 7. With one speed proc, he speed dies the general with a Slim Sword, letting him pull it off. He does fail to grow defense for this fight, and this ends up being a problem for an arena fight in the next chapter. So the alternative of just having him punch through with Nisha's Steel Sword might be a better plan. Dio's Chapter 1 arena is incredibly painful to watch. The speed ring and skill ring will help him dodge and hit enemies better, but fight 7 will be incredibly difficult, especially given he will also level up from it. I had to write a program to find the right random numbers for him to beat the arena's fights with good level ups, and I used it after this point to rig all the arena fights I needed to on everyone. There are also some weird things I noticed in the process. For instance, all units with sword skills, such as Soul and Astra, burn an extra RN when they're attacked, not just when they attack. I eventually learned that this is because all sword skills share code, and there are two unused sword skills, Holy Sword and Darkness Sword, which would burn an RN when attacked to determine if they proc defensively. Soul and Astra do that as well, despite not being defensive procs. The rest of the video will just be rigging the arena. I have Sigurd kill the boss of Verdane with a javelin since I'm greedy, and he'll get the magic ring as a result. I'll drop off here since there isn't too much to say. That's chapter 1 in 17 turns. There is one extremely long ring that happens, I believe, right before Dew actually does his fight 7. So if you see a prolonged sequence of Lex burning RNs, it's probably for that.